This is the MSI Prestige 16 AI Evo, and this is one of the first laptops without a dedicated GPU that I found that boosts higher than 28 watts. You do get a little bit more performance with that. They were kind enough to send out this laptop and partner on this video, and I think it's a very interesting proposition because you have the opportunity to buy a 16-inch notebook that only weighs around 3.31 pounds. And even if you do decide to get the version with a dedicated GPU, like you can spec this thing with an RTX 4070 if you want to, it doesn't really weigh much more. It is an all magnesium chassis. It is a black laptop. So yeah, it looks clean right now, but of course, if you touch it a lot, it will pick up some fingerprints. So you might want to carry a microfiber cloth with you. Pretty good lid flex on the top. It's very light. I love the fact that they put most of the ports on the back of the laptop. Now, usually gaming laptops do this, but I love the fact that we're seeing it on regular everyday notebooks because I'm a huge fan of keeping cables away from you instead of having them on the side. Now, the port IO situation is a good amount. Like, you get two Thunderbolt 4 ports. Obviously, these both support DisplayPort out. You get a USB-A 3.2 port, HDMI 2.1. No ports on the left-hand side except for a Kensington lock. And then on the right-hand side, you have a full-size RJ45 jack, full-size SD card slot, and a combo audio jack. This laptop passes the one-hand test where you can open it up with one hand without the bottom lifting up. The display goes all the way back 180 degrees. As one user mentioned in a previous video, they like that because what happens is you'll bring it into an office and instead of connecting an external mouse and keyboard, you can take this laptop, slide it underneath an external display, and then just use the keyboard and touchpad on the laptop instead of putting this thing off to the side. The keyboard is quite big, it's not cramped, there's tons of space for the keys. It has a full-size numeric keypad. There's different levels of lighting for the backlights on the keyboard. It is white and it pops very nicely because the deck is black and also the keys happen to be black too. Touchpad is absolutely massive. A lot of space to move your fingers around. It is glass and it feels very good to use. This power button over here also acts as a fingerprint scanner. This is an Intel Evo laptop as displayed by the stickers on the bottom left-hand corner, but one of the attractions of this product is the display. Like, this is a 2560 by 1600, 16 by 10 display. It has good brightness, it has good peak brightness, it has very good color accuracy, and a good color gamut. There is a 4K OLED option if you decide you want that, but you will be going up to 4K, and quite personally, I think 2516 by 1600 is a good enough resolution for the screen size, but there's that option if you really want it. Now, this being an IPS panel, the viewing angles are pretty good. You do have a full HD webcam at the top, which also supports Windows Hello to quickly log you in. So this is what the 1080p webcam looks like. There's a bunch of AI features obviously baked into this. If I play something super loud in the background, this laptop is going to completely cut it out since it is using AI to block that. But you guys let me know how it looks, and most importantly, let me know how the microphones sound. Now, the speakers are on the bottom of the laptop, so they do bounce off the table. They get a little bit loud. They're not like super loud, and there's not a lot of bass, but they do sound very, very clear. Now, if you're planning on picking this up, you can get this with an Intel Core Ultra 7 like I have here, and this is paired with 32 gigabytes of LPDDR5X memory. This has an Intel Arc integrated GPU inside, but you can spec this all the way up to an NVIDIA RTX 4070. 16-inch display with an IPS panel, or you can buy OLED if you really want. And this has 2 terabytes of storage. Now, performance on this was fantastic. Most Ultrabooks using the Intel Meteor Lake processors I've tested so far without dedicated GPUs usually run at 28 watts. This one was over 30. So you got faster single core clock speed compared to some of the competition, and you obviously got faster multi-core speeds. But look, when it comes to actual work, Photoshop, Lightroom on this laptop runs beautifully. Like, these Intel Meteor Lake processors just handle it very well. I edited a thumbnail on this, I added a bunch of photos on this. It doesn't matter if I added layers or used different effects. The laptop handled it very smoothly. Now, if you are buying this for video editing, I highly suggest getting the version with a dedicated GPU. It'll just give you more mileage. Like having an RTX 4050 or 4070 will render your videos faster and obviously will give you a smoother experience. But the good news is these Intel Arc GPUs are double the speed of the old Iris Xe, and it really does make a big difference. Like if you have to jump into a 4K timeline, make some changes, go through it, scroll through it, it can handle it fine. But if you're making it your career, I highly suggest getting this with a dedicated GPU. But if you're just doing like 1080p stuff, or you're just like editing stuff for like TikTok and Reels, this laptop can obviously handle it. Same holds true of your developer. Like compiling code on this was very, very good. It compiled Mozilla Firefox in just 22 minutes. Now, MSI does have some AI features baked into this. They have an AI Sense feature, which basically senses what you're doing and basically tailors the power to the individual application that you have open. So if you're constantly doing something very intensive, if it's using the CPU more, it will push power to the CPU, and the same holds true for the GPU. Personally, I just leave it in auto, and basically it does a good job of detecting what I'm doing. Even if you're gaming, like this did a very good job of playing Overwatch. Like I had it at 1920 by 1200, got 100 frames per second, and it ran smooth. Like I didn't have one dropped frame, which is really, really good to see. Fan noise is really dependent on what you're doing. Like there's a cooler boost option, which will crank the fans over 50 decibels, but if you just leave it on extreme auto, the loudest it will get will be in the mid 40s. But of course, if you leave it on silent, you won't hear the fans at all. Now the power brick that comes with this laptop is 100 watts, but if you get the one with the dedicated GPU, you'll get a 140 watt power brick instead. It's very light, so it's powerful enough to obviously charge your laptop or any device as long as it supports Type-C. But this is what the internals look like. Now, because this doesn't have the dedicated GPU, this entire section has been left empty. But if you do get the model with the dedicated GPU, there'll obviously be more copper running over here. You'll have a second fan and obviously cooling to support that. But you do get 2 slots for a drive. One is obviously populated right now, and then there's a second slot right here in case you want to add a second drive to it. Wi-Fi 7. So if you have a router that supports that, you should benefit from faster Wi-Fi speeds, your 2 speakers on the bottom, and a massive 99.9 watt-hour battery, which is the legal limit to take on a plane. And the battery life on this guy, so good, so good. Like I got 14 hours before needing to charge. And that's with like doing various things. If you are just like idling with this thing, it will last a very long time. So the MSI Prestige 16 AI Evo gets the basics right. Like this is just a good everyday productivity based laptop with the ability to game if you don't mind obviously playing older titles and dropping the settings a little bit. The Intel Arc GPU inside of here is a nice upgrade from the previous generation. And then you just got this very light 16-inch big screen notebook that you can pretty much take anywhere you want. If you have any questions about it, let me know in the comment section down below. Like the video if you liked it, subscribe if you haven't already, and I'll see you guys in the next one.